Is it slow?
It says 401 on my computer.
Oh, is it 401?
Is it on my watch too?
All right.
He's coming, he's coming, he's coming. You wanna wait for it to bark?
Oh, there he is.
He's on a trail just like he usually.
All right, I'll call Grand Forks County Commission meeting to order. Today is August 15th, 2023. I believe 4 commissioners are here. Commissioner Rusted, Commissioner Hagan, Commissioner Ingen, and myself. And I believe Commissioner Peach is on Zoom.
Yes.
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Thank you.
So we will start with the Pledge of Allegiance, please, Ryan.
Flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Just like to make one remark. We lost one of our county employees just this week. Susie Volker, who's been with the county since, at least in property and record, since 1994.
No, she started tonight.
94, okay. And very suddenly her cancer came back, and I'll be talking about it a little bit later, but I would just like to just have a moment of silence for her. Okay, thank you. Okay, approval of the minutes. Do I have a motion to approve the previous meeting? Reagan makes the motion to approve. Do I have a second? Second, Commissioner Hagan. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion is approved. Approval of the order of agenda. Does anybody need anything added? Corrections or anything to the agenda? Not, I will entertain a motion to approve the order of agenda. So
Mr. Chair, I would move approval of the order of the agenda.
okay, Commissioner Hagan's going to second then. Thank you. All those in favor of the motion to approve the order of agenda signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion is carried unanimously. Approval of the consent agenda. Bills, employee status changes, overtime, game of chance, July financial report. Anybody wish to have anything pulled at all? Then I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda. Commissioner Rusted makes the motion to approve. Do I have a second? Second with Commissioner Hagan. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion is carried unanimously. Alcohol beverage license special event permit. Would you state your name, please?
That's Jonathan Sunday. I'm with South Cape Bar.
Okay.
Works.
All right.
We were just looking for a special permit for a wedding event for Saturday, September the 16th. It's just right outside of city limits, so I need approval for you guys, and I did discuss it with the sheriff. We got that paperwork running today, or maybe that was yesterday. She might have stopped in there. The person responsible, or the one who's getting married. So.
Okay. All right. Do you have all the paperwork? Okay. All right. Do I have a motion to approve that permit? Commissioner Rusted, Commissioner Hagan seconds. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion's carried unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
Planner.
Chairman, members of the commission, I have 2 items today. I passed out my staff reports. They should be on your desks before the meeting here. First item is to consider the application of Todd Miller, Platt Miller Ford Farm. It's 2 lots on 9.47 acres. Property is located in section 32 of Allendale Township. Richard Miller is the owner of the property. The property is located at the intersection of 17th Street Northeast and State Highway 15. City Thompson is located approximately 4 miles to the east. Property currently has 2 dwellings with some other outbuildings located on it. Surrounding land uses are agricultural lands and rural residences. According to the land use plan, it's located within our rural residential district, and the plat request does conform to the goals and policies within the land use plan. Under the zoning ordinance, it's located within our rural residential single family or RR1 district, and all the lots and building envelopes of the proposed subdivision do conform with our performance standards. As far as the background, the 2 lots are 8.7 acres and 2.5 acres respectively. The purpose of the plat is to split the home sites off on their own respective parcels. Lot 1 contain 1 dwelling and the outbuildings. Lot 2, which would be the smaller 2.5 acre parcel, would contain the remaining dwelling. Each lot would maintain their own existing access and no additional accesses would be permitted. We did get a recommendation of approval from Allendale Township. For staff comments, there are no concerns. All the subdivision and zoning requirements are being met. And Grand Forks County Planning Commission recommended approval of the request at their August 8th meeting. With that, they should have to answer any questions.
Any questions from the commissioners? I have a motion to approve that request. So moved, Commissioner Rusted, second. Second by Commissioner Egan. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion is carried.
Second item is a zoning resolution amendment, which pertains to chapter 72, dealing with our wind farm section of the ordinance. First amendment is in section 72-2-3, as far as our recommending entities that we require as part of an application. We have added to that list. The additions are in the blue text on your report there, and letter H would be Grand Sky Development. Letter I would be DoD Military Aviation Clearinghouse, and letter J would be United States Air Force Foreign Investment Risk Review, Compliance and Monitor. Second amendment is on the next page, and that would be 73-2-4. That basically deals with our notification process. Typically, that's done in-house by myself. I think wind farms specifically are a lot different than a normal request. Specifically, they can have anywhere from 50 to 100 sites, and including facility sites. We do notify with everybody within a half mile, all property owners. That task could take me by myself weeks. So, the applicants in this case would have the manpower and the resources to accomplish that. Thus, kind of take the burden off the taxpayers and myself. We are asking the applicant to provide addressed envelopes for all property owners within 1/2 mile of any tower or facility site. With that, those are the only 2 amendments. If you have to answer any questions.
Questions? Any questions, Commissioner Peach?
No, I have none. Thank you.
So do I have a motion then to approve those amendments to the ordinance?
Mr. Chair, I would move.
Okay. Commissioner Peach makes the motion, second by Commissioner Hagan. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carried unanimously.
Thank you.
Yes.
Mr. Magnuson, are you also requesting the moratorium be lifted?
Yes, thank you for reminding me. I guess, if the commission wishes, we've got our amendments completed, so I guess that would be appropriate in terms of, you know, how I would feel or operate if you guys want to lift the moratorium. I'd certainly recommend that.
Okay,
Mr. Chairman,
yes,
Mr. Magnuson, is that the wind farm?
yes.
moratorium?
Okay,
Well,
so do I have, okay, go ahead.
what are you asking for?
To lift the moratorium that was in effect till what, the end of?
I'm not sure I'm in a position, that we're in a position to lift the moratorium until we find out more of the information from the parties that he just mentioned in here.
Mr. Chair, I could provide an update on what Commissioner Engen is referring to, if that's all right.
Okay,
So Grand Forks Air Force Base, if you recall, I sent out an email to the board last week with an update on the intended applicant. They have provided us the documentation we were looking for, waiting on. Dan Burke and Air Force headquarters, they've reviewed it. They're still reviewing it. That being said, the proposed changes to Part 802, which would have added Grand Forks Air Force Base to the highly sensitive base, it's been approved. It's been finalized. We're just waiting on it to be published, made public record. So that right there in itself, I need to visit with Ms. Wamstead further on how that would affect the intended applicant, but it is now covered under the CFIUS protocol. At this point, I have yet, after multiple attempts, to receive further information if the Range Hawk mission has been taken into consideration to a wind farm, ISR 30 and the Leo mission. We have no answers. I have sent that on to Senator Kramer's office as they're interested as well, and if that's been taken into account. So that's where things sit. The applicant is asking for another meeting with county officials, and that's something I can follow up with. Also with Ms. Wamstead on how the Part 802 affects this going forward, but also what the wishes of you as a portfolio commissioner would be, Commissioner Engen. That's the most current information we have.
Mr. Chair,
yes,
I raised the issue because my recollection is that the moratorium was put in place to allow Mr. Magnuson some time to update the zoning resolution. Now that that has been completed, I think we would need a different basis if there is one, if we felt more amendments were needed or whatnot, if we wish to continue with the moratorium. My concern is the liability to the county is greater the longer duration that we are refusing to allow a certain business to conduct activities or even accept an application to consider. And so I think it's important that we be careful that it's rooted in a basis that exists. So if we're no longer planning to amend the ordinances further, we've either needed an alternative basis for a moratorium or to lift it.
When you look at the moratorium, if the Fufang project had examined everything before they started all the wheels in motion, it would have saved a lot of consternation within the county and the city and all of that. Once the permit process starts and they really think they're going to be building this, isn't it going to be worse if they have to stop partway through the project? I don't think we're talking about too many months down the road before we should hear something from the Air Force and Grand Sky. It's not, both of them have significant potential issues, not just national security, but the ability of radars to be able to fly drones in lower altitudes and so on. So I feel like I know enough yet to allow them to file a permit.
So Commissioner Engen, members of the board, my understanding is that the moratorium was to defer accepting applications for wind farms until we got the ordinance sorted out. I believe the amendments that Mr. Magnuson has prepared and that were approved here today would require an applicant to have the review of the entities listed in 72-273, which would include the CFIUS process and the Air Force's review and approval and things like that. So I think if the moratorium was lifted, it would permit us to accept an application, but they would still have to jump through the hoops as outlined in the amended ordinance, which would include those entities approved.
And we're not limited to what is in the we have the leeway to ask for, if there's a study that comes up that they need, we can ask for that. And their application would not be deemed complete or able to go to the next step until we receive the information as you guys would so wish. So we're not, taking the moratorium off isn't gonna prevent us from getting the answers prior to this coming before the board or even planning commission.
Commissioner, and so the DoD Aviation Clearinghouse, I mean, they've said we're fine with it. But what we're trying to get as a county is clarification if that clearinghouse took into account the 3 future missions that have been announced. We have not received clarity on that. Grand Sky, in the email I had sent out, Mr. Sawyer has submitted a letter of concern. He is making a request that a radar impact study be determined. My concern would be having an applicant go through all of these steps only to find out one way or another. I would agree with Ms. Wamstead. I think the amendment you just approved covers an application of whether they're foreign owned or not, what potential impact may be on the base.
I think there's less risk of foreign involvement, given what we've seen from them. But there's risk on these other things. So I guess I have no problem with the explanation that Mr. Magnuson has given us and the amendments we just approved. So we can do that.
Okay. All right, so any more discussion on this topic before I entertain a motion to drop the moratorium? Do I have a motion to drop it?
Going back to your discussion question, we've all watched this movie play out at the city, and I'm not interested in dropping any moratoriums. I don't feel like I have an understanding of what the rest of the process needs to look like before I can provide a motion or a second to a vote.
One thing that
I have a question for Ms. Wamstead. We just extended it 60 days. If you're saying the only reason was for the zoning amendments, that's one thing, but I guess we've all expressed our concern about these other issues all the way along. Can we continue with the 60 days to see whether we have enough information to drop it or extend it? Didn't we say 60 days from July?
Commissioner Engen, members of the board, I think, I'm not sure what you need more information on. If you need more information to determine if further amendments are needed to the ordinance,
No.
you know, then I think if that were the case, I think you could extend it on the same basis or allow it to stand on the same basis. Yep,
No, you got the right
Nelson
thing.
just looked up, it is 60 days, and it will expire on September 25th. I I think if you need more information on this particular applicant, the county has not received any applications for a wind farm at this time. We've only engaged in discussions with this entity. By lifting the moratorium, you are by no means approving a future application that may come in from this entity that could be decided at a later date once they have complied with all the conditions in the ordinance and upon Mr. Magnuson's request. So the moratorium is just putting on hold the ability for Mr. Magnuson's department to accept applications. If it were lifted, he could accept applications and go through the process of having them reviewed by the different entities. And then ultimately it would have to come before the Planning and Zoning Commission, and if approved there, before the full board for approval to conduct their business in our county.
Like, I can see how you can't put someone off forever without some potential legal issue. By the same token, do we open ourselves up to legal issues if they get so far down the road that they're, everyone except perhaps Grand Sky says, okay, can we still say we're not gonna approve it?
I have a thought, maybe more so for Ms. Wamstead. Can the moratorium, it's set to expire in September? Can the moratorium be allowed to run its course? And in that time being, we could have staff, myself, Ms. Wamstead, we could have a discussion with Mr. Burke to see exactly now with Part 802 approved, how does that application, when it eventually would come in, trigger, when does it trigger a CFIUS review? Because right now, if I'm understanding Ms. Wamstead correctly, there's nothing for the commission to make a determination on. If the application comes forward, the application has to fit all the criteria, including the new amendments. But if I'm understanding Part 802 correctly, because it's owned by a foreign entity, that triggers the CFIUS review anyways. Once a CFIUS review is enacted, the Air Force goes silent on us. They can't speak with us, they can't visit with us. It'd be just like with the Phu Fang project. But if it can be allowed to run its course, will we do a little bit more homework, Ms. Wamstead, on exactly what and when CFIUS could be triggered in this instance?
Mr. Ford, members of the board, it's my reading of the amended ordinance that all entities that submit an application for a wind farm in our county would be required to go through the CFIUS review process. Do you agree, Mr. Magnuson? It looks like subsection J, is that in reference to CFIUS?
Well, that is in reference to the department in the Air Force that would require the CFIUS review. Is that correct?
That's correct. That's correct. So if a wholly owned American energy company wants to set up a wind farm in Grand Forks County, you'd still go through the DoD clearinghouse, UND, GFK, Grand Sky, that all still comes into play, but they wouldn't require the CFIUS review. Now, if it's a foreign entity that owns it, again, you got to check all the boxes, but CFIUS is now enacted because of the basis designation and because the applicant is a foreign owned entity.
Is there any indication there is foreign ownership here?
Oh, yes, yes, sir.
But not one of our adversaries?
It's a French-owned company with majority control. When I read through that information that the NG representative sent us, the parent company still has some investment ties into China.
And was there also a discussion that they have to prove they aren't going to be importing parts and supplies from our adversary?
The widgets, yes, sir. Yes, that was something that was requested by the Air Force.
They've never answered you on that question, have they, about the Chinese interest in that?
They have provided information, so there, if you recall, sir, there was 8 subsidiaries that looked like Chinese subsidiaries that looked like had ties to the parent company. It looks like the parent company has shed all but 2 or 3. Is it 3? Okay, thank you, ma'am. And that they're still tied to that, and if I understood the response, they're working on shedding, but it has not been done yet. There's still, and in the note I sent the board, there were concerns by the CFPS office on the type of information regarding the widgets that would be used, which is why they're still looking at.
Okay. What is the wishes? Want to just,
Well, if the attorney says it expires because there's no need for it, then it's expired. Do we have to take an action? Because I'm not really in favor of taking an action to stop it myself.
Mr. Engen, members of the board, I don't believe the motion included a date range for the purpose of amending. I don't believe it included an early expiration in the event that it's amended before the September 24th date. So I think if the board wished to lift it in advance of September 24th to allow us to accept applications, not necessarily approve those applications, it would have to be done by a motion.
Understand, okay.
Commissioner Beach, you wanna chime in?
Well, I guess, preference wise, it would make the most sense just to let the date follow through for the ordinance, just let it go until this end of September instead of trying to do something with it right now.
That the wishes of the board, just to let it run its course.
I'm with Cindy.
Okay,
Not hearing motions.
yeah. Do we need a motion? Because we already have it.
No, we need a motion to stop it early.
Yeah,
They might be upset with us for doing that, but nice to find out a little more information even before that.
all right,
I'm okay with it.
we'll leave it.
All right.
Thank you. All right. You're up, Sean.
Chairman Ross, members of the commission, I come today to request a chair signature on an amendment to our Operation Stone Garden grant. Basically, what it is that we were approved to purchase a drone with the grant, so they had to do a revision, and we need a signature for that. So we previously approved the grant, now we're just being approved for this piece of equipment, is what it is.
Okay,
To allow signing for the chair.
Second the signing of the paper.
okay. You made the motion. Are you seconding it?
Made the motion, I'm second.
Okay. Commissioner Rusted makes the motion, Commissioner Hagan seconds it. All those in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried unanimously.
I have nothing further, thank you.
There's an item before you sit down.
Yep.
I just want everybody to know that the sheriff's department conducted an active shooter drill in Northwood at the public school the other day. They had a whole crew of
Today.
deputies and a bunch of police people and all kinds of people. And I appreciate the fact that you guys take the time out of your schedule of all your guys to do that. I know it was much appreciated by the teachers there. So
Yeah, it
thank
worked
you.
out well, and the superintendent they have down there is fantastic. The security measures he's taking in that school are top in the county. So they're in good hands down there. So thank
Thanks for
you.
coming out there.
Thanks, Andy. All right, emergency manager.
Good afternoon, Chairman Ross, members of the commission. We are here again for our 5th rendition of the purchase agreement. So there was a misunderstanding between the homeowner and the state of North Dakota Department of Emergency Services about when he actually needed to vacate the property. He believed that he had 30 days from the date of the closing. Therefore, he doesn't have anywhere to go and he has to start packing it. So I need to push this out another 30 days. State's Attorney Longstad was gracious enough to please look this over for me, and we just amended the dates. That's the only difference. And then we'll take it back to them for signature again this week. And in addition to that motion to allow Chairman Ross to sign, I also would need a motion to ask for, I believe, the authority to sign all the closing documents once we get there on behalf of the county. Is that correct? Thank you.
That need to be two separate motions, or is one somebody?
Yeah, keep it together.
I move to allow Chairman Ross to sign the paper for the Director of Emergency Management to sign off.
Second, Commissioner Hagan.
Second that. Yep.
Okay,
I appreciate the support. Thank you.
all those in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed,
Aye.
sign. Motion is carried unanimously.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Highway Department. Mr. West.
Ross, members of the board, one little tidbit, we had a veteran operator retire today, 34 years with the department, Gary Johnson. And just want to say that we're all replaceable, but some are harder than others, and he's going to be a very hard one to replace. In his previous life, he was a certified welder, so did a lot of our welding and fabricating, particularly on bridge projects and little attachment things, changes and stuff, but great guy, great attitude, hard worker. Didn't ever really complain much. Everybody complains a little, but no, very good guy. And I snapped that on the record. Today was his last day.
Good talk him out of it, huh?
Yeah, I tried so many times. Like, if we put you in the new truck, would you stay another couple of years? That didn't work. But we have interviews scheduled tomorrow for a couple of new guys, and we'll see where that goes. Hopefully we find some good replacements. First item for consideration is our Manville shed. That was, plans were put together, that was advertised and bid last week, Thursday. State's Attorney Monson and I were there at the bid opening, that went well. No bid bond issues. We had two bids, one from Old Construction, one from Matt Construction. One little nuance would have been, we knew the time frame was tight. So I allowed the contractors to offer a different completion date. I had in there December 15th solely because that gave us a couple weeks to finish up some paperwork and get it paid out within this year's budget, which was ideal for us. However, I knew it was tight for contractors and they were calling and saying, hey, no, I can't get this or that done in that time frame. So I said, well, offer a different price with a different time frame. We'll see what happens. So that's where Old Construction had the two different prices in there, and he offered that save a little bit of money if we let them go until February 15th. From our end, I probably would need to do a little bit of budget amendment or carry some money over, et cetera, to do that. But that is the two bids or three bids we received, Mac and Alt. That's quite a price difference in a project that magnitude and a small, straightforward project. So I did visit with Mac as to why their price was what it is. I can speculate. I knew they were busy, but don't know for sure. But my recommendation at a minimum would be is go with Old Construction. I did check one of the references and it was good. I know the company's been around in the area for a number of years. They have an 11-man crew. They do everything but the electrical and plumbing themselves, all the concrete work, framing, sheet metal they would do. And this would be right up their alley as far as projects. The only question, I guess, for the board to maybe consider that I don't know what, I don't have a real strong opinion is what the completion date should be. And I would entertain any thoughts or discussion on that.
Is that be asking for your opinion? Are those 2 months and having it done in the first calendar year worth $11,000?
You can save
They would be
$11,000.
nice, but not necessary.
I mean, to save 11 grand. That's a lot of money.
Maybe didn't want extra work to do it
She's gonna say save 11.
for the February date.
Do a budget amendment, they'll come back and ask for that. Cause you're gonna hold money over till next year.
Yeah, whatever, yeah. We would need to carry over some money. Now, yeah, from our end, I'm hoping to do the Northwood shed next year with our building fund. And I mean, the good news is from our standpoint, we're not a general fund department, so the money stays in our account regardless. It'd be, either we do a small budget amendment with the carryover, or we simply overrun the line item. Curveball might be is part of the funds for this project would come out of the county's capital improvement fund was approved for a portion of the project. I don't know how that would affect the project, or suppose the curveball that, or budget amendment, or we just spend that money first, make sure that money is spent in 2023.
Well, it's easy for us to say budget amendment. What's it like for you for the
It's fine.
not too big a deal, okay.
That's fine. Yeah, that would be, February would be just fine. That, we can operate as is in Manville like we have for the last ever. Because the existing shed stays as is, and this is all new on new property, and so if it waits, that's not a problem.
Okay. All right, so we need a motion then to accept the bid for Alt Construction for $320,000 for February 15th completion date. And a budget amendment, right? Nope, not yet. Okay, so do I have a motion to approve that? So moved by Commissioner Hagan, second, Commissioner Rusted. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried unanimously.
Thank you. My other request is to make a modification to our federal aid project, schedule of projects. And this would be our normally allocated federal aid each year. Our plan was to do a mill and overlay on County Road 5 and 6 in 2026. However, County Road 6 is deteriorating a little bit faster than we had planned, and I'd like to move it up to next year. I did talk to the DOT, and we would need to advance federal aid again. We've done the last few times, and they're okay with that. More explanation on that, I certainly can get into that process. Advanced federal aid doesn't cost us any money, it's free. Our county account would just go in the negative, and it'd take a few years to build back up again. But it'd be at the end of 2026, it'd be back to where it was anyway, so. That is my request. We'll do that project next year, we did it this coming winter. And we are properly budgeted and preliminarily appropriately budgeted.
Okay,
Make that motion.
okay, motion by Commissioner Rusted, second.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Egan. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried unanimously.
Thank you. The last item was license agreements. This is something that's come up just in the last week and has to do with the racetrack speedway, and want to put a gate between the racetrack and the highway department. And I've met with a couple of the racetrack folks, and there's been some emails going around, and I guess not sure where to go from here, but they have agreed. I have an email from Mr. saying that they would agree to the license agreement that Ms. Wamstead put together as far as taking liability and any issues of theft and whatnot on the highway lot. And there is some concern from the race folks as exactly where this gate would go. Right now, it's proposed right south of the Conservation District building. I guess regardless, they would fence out the area.
I was out there today, rode around with Keith and his ATV. And it sounds like they would like to put that gate. And I think it's a good idea because it's not going to interfere with conservation. It's further south where the barrels end, you know, there's no billboard, and put the gate in right there. And they would be able to fence it off or whatever they need to do. But that way, coming out at turn 3, the barrels would still be there for anybody who goes off the track. Wouldn't have to take the billboard down, and conservation would be more than happy, I'm sure. So it seems to me that's the easiest. It's gonna take less gravel from what I could see, you know, and very little for you to have to move, very little. So,
Yeah, it's a horse piece to me.
but I think it can be done, so.
Can we leave approve the licensing agreement as it's written and have them work out the placement of the gate with Nick or State's
Yeah, I
Attorney?
would think so.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, the license agreement doesn't speak to the placement of the gate other than it's referenced on Exhibit A. Really, the license agreement is just for the use of the gravelled area on Mr. West's lot.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know if he's worked out who pays for what gate or whatnot, but that would be dealt with separately than this agreement. This agreement essentially just provides that they have the county's permission to use the property and they're responsible for any liability. They're responsible for returning the property to its original condition should they, you know, damage it, litter, leave debris, anything like that. They would have to return it to how they found it essentially.
I think the best part of moving it further south from where those billboards are is the fact that there's no buildings they can run into, you know, all north of there. So you just got your big pile of gravel and it's gonna stay. You don't have to move that. And they'll work around it. They'll fence everything off so that they can't go wandering all over your property. So.
Yeah, just my concerns were exactly what Ms. Longstead talked about, and as long as they agreed to that, then my issues with the highway department are covered. So, and I guess wherever that gate is, who pays for the gate was
Okay,
one
so this is gonna be a
concern.
temporary gate to start with, okay? So, and they have the fencing for that, to do that. So we're not putting a locked gate in there right now. It's just, they're gonna take out the permanent part, and if they have to move their temporary to gain entry, they will do that, so.
I think the timing of getting greenworks in there wasn't gonna work out for the event, or it was gonna be cutting it real close.
I think all that could be done internally. I think that could be done by the racetrack people. They've got fencing like you can't believe.
Yep, so,
So,
no, people work together, good to see. So that way their event won't be messed up, so.
and it, like they said this morning, we will only use it if we have to. If we don't have to, they won't even open it up. So, because it's not gonna be an option like right now. It's only if they have to, so.
What kind of notice do you need, Nick, when they're gonna do that? Because you may have to move things out of the way. And Sheriff Snyder said sometimes you get fairly short notice. So what, is there an issue there or not an issue there?
Depends what's parked there, you know. Or what we have piled up there, you know, that changes from year to year as far as what culvert bridge components are piled where, and piles of gravel and dirt and whatnot changes regularly. It's like a construction yard. I mean, as
Yeah.
projects are going on, things are coming and going. Right now, there's not much there. I mean, in a matter of a half an hour, we could move whatever, not even 15 minutes, you probably move the random pieces of stuff that are sitting there. Days.
You don't need to have something specifically written in.
I don't think so. I don't think that's a
So
problem.
the sites memorial is September 7th, 8th, and 9th, which is a Thursday, Friday, Saturday. World of Outlaws is a week from Friday.
Right.
So, and as far as the overflow parking for the World of Outlaws, they won't need that gate for the World of Outlaws. They just need it for the sites memorial if necessary, so. They will need your county shop for parking maybe for the
Sure.
overflow, but not for the racers themselves, so. Do I have a motion then? So moved by Commissioner Hagan, second.
Second.
Second, Commissioner Rusted. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Hi.
Opposed, same sign, motion carried.
That is all I have. Thank you. Any questions?
County Administrator.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the commission. Just two topics. Really, I'm looking for commission direction tonight on to proceed. First one is the north fifth floor tower. So as you know, Northeast Human Services, a lot of that workforce now works remotely. So they've surrendered almost all of that tower back to the county. There's 4 state employees left. We've reconsolidated them to one corner, and they're using a room for files. Who knows what the next biennium will bring? Can't predict it, but the next lease renewal will be at the end of the current biennium. That being said, currently emergency management has 3 offices, and they're using 2 for storage. Information technology is using a couple for storage as well, just because we have the space. And then also talking with Kari, there's an office that the Red Cross, if they have staff up here from Fargo and they need a space to plug in and check emails, you know, we're allowing that as well. Just being good neighbors, and we have the space. There's been discussions of possibly human resources relocating up there. That's been put on the table. That being said, there's also been discussions of leasing that space. Obviously losing Northeast in that tower loses lease revenue. So there's right now we've put some county departments in there. There's talk of other county departments going in there, but there's also been talk of, do we lease this space and try to accumulate some revenue? That being said, we've had some interest in some government entities reaching out, but it hasn't come to fruition. But I think at least getting the discussion started by the board of what the intent of that space would be. I think that if the commission wants to lease that space out, and you need to look at probably the whole tower. It'd be difficult to piecemeal. You have some county departments in some parts, and then you're bringing in an outside entity for another part. Maybe it could work. We'd have to explore it. So also, if it's the wishes of the board to look to a lease, I think we're gonna have to remodel. Carpets, old paint, worn out, scuffed, furniture, some of it's been left behind. It's old and shoddy. If you put other departments in there, yes, there would also be some remodeling, but not to the same extent as if you had to do the entire 10,000 square feet. I think if the commission is leaning towards leasing out, getting the space updated, remodeled, and then eventually what kind of tenant is the best fit, probably gonna have to look at another government partner entity. We've looked at some others that just fell through or wouldn't work here. So kind of looking for some discussion from the board and some direction on how to proceed with that space, that footprint.
Mr. Ford,
Yes, ma'am.
we know we have to, I mean, obviously the remodeling portion has to be done anyway with the carpets and the painting, the updating of that particular area. And we know as a fact that the state employees that are housing files there and have a couple of offices, they're not moving for at least another 2 years. So I don't think it doesn't hurt to take a look at what kind of leasing options would be available, but hopefully to retain the staff that we have, or move HR up and look at a different option. But I know we have to do some remodeling of space anyway, so that probably should possibly be the priority.
Yes, no, absolutely. Whatever the board wishes, we'll look into. You also, when the lease is up in 25, it is your purview as a commission to say to the state, we want the entire space. And there was talk of those 4 state employees being removed, but we just weren't far enough along in our own planning. I said, no, let's just consolidate them until we figure out what we want to do. But I know it's being inquired more and more about what to do with that space. So I don't want to get too far ahead without commission and direction.
Questions down there?
Thinking maybe a review of all of the current usage, maybe like a pithy summary that where we can say, okay, these square feet on this floor not utilized, these potentially could be opened up. I don't want to give you a big homework assignment or anything, Tom, but I think just for our understanding, because we're not crawling around this building, every day, like you guys that have probably could walk through it blindfolded and go into every office, whereas I jump out on 5th floor a little too often when I'm coming to these, so.
That's Mr. Chair, Commissioner Rusted. The commission did actually have a space utilization study done in 2016. I think it would be as simple as, having that dusted off and updated and revisited. I believe Icon. So they've done a couple. It was just specific to this building, the one I'm mentioning. We can certainly, I could reach out and have them.
It'd be good to include state's attorney's office usage and stuff like that over there too, because she's in a tough spot with her operation over there. They're kind of crawling on each other's backs over there. And so it'd be just good to know going forward if there's going to be major decisions being made, just exactly what we have available and who can utilize it and who simply can't because of their operations, or what alterations, maybe major, maybe minor, could be instituted to make a space more attractive for a particular agency, what have you.
It would be feasible though to have the state's attorney across the street at the courthouse. I know there's
Commissioner Engen.
logistics problems, I think.
That's correct. Commissioner Engen, members of the board, I believe our office was included in the prior space study that Mr. Ford referenced, so I wouldn't have an objection if they are going to update it to include us as well. I'm not sure if the sheriff's department and all county entities, but we were included anyway. So I think that's probably a wise decision. In response to Mr. Rusted's email from yesterday, I did visit with him a little bit and share my concerns, which are consistent with the 2 prior state's attorneys' concerns as well, about our office being housed in this building. There's an array of reasons. One of the primary reasons is we're still working on a physical file system. We would like to be paperless, but we're required to be on the state's case management system, which as it stands right now doesn't allow us to go paperless. So how the court schedules hearings, it's anywhere from 10 cases to 40 cases on in a cattle call fashion. So our attorneys are literally bringing carts full of files to court for each court session. And so it would be very difficult for us to transport those files across the street in whatever weather conditions there may be. And as you can imagine, our court files contain a significant amount of confidential information, from people's social security number, victim information, criminal intelligence information that isn't made public. And so we'd be very concerned if we had to go back and forth between each building multiple times every day for each court session. In addition to that, there are other reasons why it's important that we're in the courthouse building, or at the very least closely connected. We serve on many of our cases a number of victims, and it's important that they have a safe space to go to either before or after hearings or during trials, so they're not bumping into the offender where they maybe have a no contact order of some kind. It's also important that we have quick accessibility to our non-victim witnesses in cases that we have hearings on or trials and things like that. So I would strenuously object to a move from our office outside of the courthouse or closely connected to the courthouse in some way for all of those reasons, even though I certainly share Commissioner Rusted's concern that we are in tight quarters the way it is where we're at. But we'd rather deal with that than being in a separate building, because I think that would create a lot of additional logistical concerns. But thank you for seeking our input, because we certainly appreciate the concerns.
So, Mr. Chair, good segue to the second. I think the last commission meeting, I stress the word may, have laid this on all the commissioners' desks, talking about space studies. So I might have inadvertently caused some panic and maybe some misunderstandings of this. This study here was another for a potential new building back in 2019, 2020. When the commission was deciding what to do with juvenile detention center, and we knew the sheriff was going to have to find a new house when the city had that meeting with us, and then COVID happened and everything was blowing up. And of course now the youth assessment center is being built on the north end. With all the potential, or with the discussions of a potential 2024 referendum, I had a meeting with Commissioner Ross. I had a meeting with the sheriff and Ms. Wamstead, just talking about, okay, 2027 is really when we've been asked to find another place for the sheriff. It's kind of the looming deadline. And I've talked to the sheriff, and putting him in this building would be a bad situation for his office. So in order to provide all necessary options for the commission, Commissioner Ross asked me to go back to ICON and have them dust this off and remove the juvenile detention center and look at a sheriff's office, emergency management, and the state's attorney's office that could be connected to the courthouse as well. I've also been part of some discussions where the 911 call center, they're looking for another location. So I reached out to Mr. Phelan, just trying to be a good partner, saying we're dusting this off. I'm going to be reaching out to ICON to reach out to the state's attorney's office, the sheriff's office, emergency management, about what would this cost, what would it look like? Any objections to including Ms. LaHaye's in the conversation? He said no. So no means whatsoever was the city committing to a new building. If I made that, if that's what people thought I was doing 2 weeks ago, no, that's my error. No, they just said we'd be interested in sitting down. I've not asked ICON to start building us a new building or anything like that. I just, after discussing it with the chair, the state's attorney, and the sheriff, asked them to update a space study. There's $40 million price tag. Hopefully that drops considerably if you're pulling a detention out. So based on some of the some email correspondence that's been going on from the city hall and others, I've asked ICON to just pause and stop. Because if this is not something the commission even wants to consider, I don't want to waste people's time. So with ICON, they've done this space study. They did the original space study. I think that's a good idea to dust off the Cobb space study. I think though that when I engage ICON to say, we want you to look at these studies, it's not, this would have been pretty minimal work for them. They were going to do it pro bono. I would be prepared for ICON to say, we'll do that, but we need to charge, because I think it's going to be a lot more work. So I'd be looking for some commission direction then on how I should proceed with working with ICON, and I would assume maybe some costs would be attached to this if we're going down that far down the hole.
Questions? What would we be asking ICON to do when you say dust off the Cobb study? is there much they would have to do, or is it something you can do in connection with some commissioners, for example?
So commissioning in the 2016 space study is old already because it had a different footprint it had child protective services in this building, which is not in this building anymore. It recommended social services being in different areas. They've changed their areas since then. Just the departments, the footprint has changed since that 2016 study was conducted. So I could see ICON needing to sit down with every department, Ms. Nelson, Ms. Wamstead, Ms. Thiel, Mr. Magnuson, myself, to understand how much space we actually utilize every day, how much space we need to conduct our business. And then they probably have to fully update that proposal. If I remember off the top of my head, it had juvenile, the Veteran Service Office moving out of their current footprint and putting them on 5th floor. That's, well, the footprint has drastically changed now because Northeast has surrendered a whole tower. Things have just changed. So I don't think it's as easy as me sitting down with a couple of commissioners. So I think they'd have to come in and do some real digging and interviews with department heads. Whereas with this one here, it was pretty much reaching out to Ms. LaHaye to say, what do you need for 911 footprint? Pulling out juvenile detention, calculating today's costs and saying, this is what it would cost the county if you wanted to build the sheriff building and incorporate 911, incorporate emergency management. Or if you as a commission could say, no, that's the city's thing. We'll just worry about state's attorney and the sheriff, and now your costs have gone down again.
Well, when you're talking about the state attorney's office, was that space study suggesting they go in this building? Because isn't that?
Not this building, no, sir.
Okay, you're talking about over there.
Yes, sir. So this original plan had a building built on that vacant.
Well, yeah, I understand that.
And it had juvenile detention,
I recall, yeah.
the sheriff and the state's attorney.
Hooked onto the courthouse.
And down to the courthouse. This concept, I'm saying, I said to ICON, remove juvenile detention. Just talk to Ms. Wamstead and the sheriff, make sure this is still accurate. Talk to Ms. Gels, talk to Ms. LaHaye, and then update this and provide us what it would cost. This would have included the state's attorney as well over there, because then her office can be connected to the courthouse.
Well, or added, they can find the funding source for us.
Yes, sir.
I think that's the problem.
Yes, sir. So I think 2027 will be here very quickly. So just trying to provide the commission with every possible option there is.
As it sits right now, that would be, in my opinion, assuming that there's a tax bill passing. I don't know how we could possibly assume that. From my standpoint, I still want to see something from CE showing potential alteration in the jail expansion to include the sheriff's department. Because I don't believe it's too late, and I don't think the envelope would have to change, and it might actually drop the cost. Maybe some upfront additional costs, but cubicles aren't as expensive as cells. And so I'd definitely still like to see something like that. But I don't know how we can sit and proceed on a project of that magnitude at any level. If we forecasted 5 years out with no tax increase, what would that look like right now? Because I believe we're staring down the barrel of a financial gun. So I'd be real nervous to even pretend to commit to an additional project of that magnitude. Or even hint that we might be committing to it, I think is maybe putting the cart way before the horse with the amount of tax increases in front of the public in the recent history and in the future. I think assuming one passes is quite dangerous.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, visited yesterday with Mr. Rusted to discuss some of the items he just raised today. And just so that everyone's on the same page, after receiving Mr. Rusted's email yesterday, I did have some conversations with our bond counsel regarding the bond that was sold in 2022 for the Youth Assessment Center and Correctional Center project. My inquiry was whether or not we can shift our purpose from building a correctional youth assessment center to a county department facility. Bond counsel indicated that I believe it was $32 million bond that was sold in 2022 was for the purpose of a correctional and youth assessment center. So if we wish to shift the focus of that building as far as the financing goes, what we would have to do is that 2022 bond is not repayable until 2030. So what is the cash balance that we have not yet spent would have to be placed in an escrow account, and we'd be responsible for the related costs for that to be held until 2030 when we can begin to repay those bonds. Then we'd have to start the bonding process over with the public notice and the protest period for new bonds to be issued for a building with a different purpose. Even if we're using the same footprint and whatnot, we have to notice the public for the purpose for which we are selling the bonds. I shared that with Mr. Rusted yesterday, and I just wanted to make sure that everybody's on the same page as far as that goes. In addition, I do have some concerns that we have entered into contracts with architects, engineers, and construction managers for the purpose of building a correctional center. I am aware that they have secured subcontractors that are currently working on the project, and we would be legally bound to those contracts. So I think that's something the board should be mindful of as well, is that our liability would be quite significant if we chose to change our course, because we are bound by those contracts.
I can, Mr. Chair, I can elaborate too. I did meet with Todd Mitchell and Tom Wesley this morning about this and some of the questions that have been asked. To sum up quickly, essentially the project would come to a complete halt. So footings have been poured, precast concrete walls are going up as we speak. You'd have to stop the project. All work would cease. It's what I've been told is it's not as simple as just an audible, because this has all been designed to be a jail, not an office administrative building. So everything that the county has done over the last 16 months of planning and very long meetings, everything would just throw it in the shred bin, just being upfront. And the whole planning process would have to start all over again, with just meetings with the sheriff and whoever else and drawing up new plans. We're just over 2 million into the project now. Stopping and looking to change course, at a minimum, we'd be at $1 million at additional in architects and engineering fees. Supplies are on order. They are on the way. They are at the site. These are supplies for a jail, an office administrative building. And yes, it's the same thing. There are contractors and subcontractors that we have guaranteed payment on work. If it stops, you're probably looking at spending the whole winter in redesign, which means you have subcontractors now sitting at home not getting paid for the work we contractually obligated ourselves to. So I wanted to make sure I was giving you all the information so you can discuss it like Ms. Wong said. Mr. Chair.
Yeah. But those are two really big issues that the contracts that those are binding contracts, and the subcontractors are binding. If we lose our shirt and be tied up in court on those issues, for one thing. Second thing is, we have been hearing presentations from Brett Burkholder for quite a while now. He has explained in extreme detail why they absolutely need more space. And we're too late to stop them. I would not consider voting to halt the project, given the potential huge liabilities we'd have running it into this if we called the project off at this point. The problem is we have to do more things down the line. I don't know the answer to that yet, but the fact is, I don't think we can stop this one. I don't know how we can do it legally.
No.
Mr. Chair, I would concur with Commissioner Engen.
I think, yeah, we're into this thing. And I think the amount of money we have to spend if we stopped is gonna exceed what we're paying right now, so. I think I would like to see that Icon feasibility study for that lot over there to be done. I don't know what it would cost. But get these people together and I think that's the way we should proceed.
So, Mr. Chair, what I will do then is, to Commissioner Rusted's point, I will also reach out to Icon about this space study. I do agree we could probably better utilize space here, and see if there's a cost to that. But in the same conversation, then keep that. But if there's going to be costs, I won't tell them to do anything. I'll bring it back to the commission.
Okay,
Sure.
all right. Any other comments? All right. Okay, state's attorney. Committee. We'll start with you, Mr. Hagan
It'll
today.
be an easy one. I don't have anything except one very short Zoom meeting, so nothing to talk about.
Okay, Commissioner Peach, you have anything?
Yes, I just want the commission to know that I will be sending a card in memorial to Garland and staff to the office for the loss of Susie Volker. And that will be signed in honor of the commission.
Okay, thank you very much for doing that. Commissioner Hagan.
I don't have anything with meetings per se, but I do have a request from Garland in the recorder's office for an I chat last week. It's in the packet that she would like to, I think it's Bree, I don't know if the name is in here, but she
Same
would.
thing I was gonna bring up.
Okay, she would like to move one of her employees into a different position with higher duties and responsibilities. And she'd like to pay for the difference out of her technology preservation account. This was before the passing of her employee, so I don't know if this is gonna be, she wanted it to be temporary, but I don't know if it's gonna be permanent now. I don't know if that's something.
Michelle?
Oh, very good.
So Chairman Ross, Commissioner Hagan, some things have been evolving over the last few days. The original request was until they could determine whether or not the position would be vacant, it would be a stipend to pay for additional duties that would be taken temporarily. The position, the open position was posted today because of what happened earlier this week. And it is being posted internally and it is being posted for 3 days. Because we felt that Garland wanted to do it that way, which is the option for the department head. So at this point, I don't know if they want to still move forward with the stipend for the fact that we could have a resolution as early as next week. But everything was very fast moving, so.
All right, thank you.
I did bring some flowers to the department.
Commissioner Rusted.
Nothing to report. Some stuff coming out of tomorrow's MPO meeting.
Even at the library board meeting tomorrow, so.
Well, every word.
Oh.
Is that what you would call
Exciting
regional
one right now.
Okay. All right, okay, so one thing that I would like to talk about that's gonna take commission action. Susie Volker's funeral is Monday at 2 o'clock in Crookston. the entire first floor downstairs, to include the auditor's office, planning and zoning, all would like to go to the funeral. So they would like the ability to close the office for half a day, from noon until 5 o'clock. And without having to use vacation to do it, they would like to be able to go, which I would understand that. So, but I think it's gonna take commission action to allow that to happen.
I'll make that
Michelle
one.
Teal, do you have any issues with that?
News to me. When we have a death happen prior to you being on the commission, I know that we did close, well, we modified duties that were done in certain offices. As an example, Mr. Ford and I took tax payments and to help out Debbie's office so that Debbie's entire staff could go. So I also do not remember off the top of my head, and maybe Debbie does remember, how we dealt with compensation for that period of time. I could look, I could have an answer for you tomorrow as to how we did it, whether people utilized vacation or what they did, because I don't remember, it was in 2016.
Yeah.
So,
I just feel that as a commission board, we have the authority to grant that without having to take vacation.
and, yeah.
I agree with that.
I do too. I'll make that motion.
Okay.
I would
So
like to
we
know how
need
we're
to-
gonna pay for it.
So the one thing we need to clarify is, if you're going to do that, you need to clarify who all would qualify, because here's an example. You can't say all the first floor, because Child Protective Services
Yeah,
for the zone are on first floor. Many of them worked with Susie since the beginning and they know her. And they legally would not be able to, through the administrative code, they wouldn't be able to do it. Does this include buildings and grounds? So I think we need a little clarification.
yeah,
Are you meaning
because I think there's
just-
gonna be buildings and grounds people that would like to go, because they work with Susie a lot.
Right, and you can't shut down the entire buildings and grounds department for half a day.
Yeah.
So
True.
that's, yeah. Yeah, everything's very fast moving in this case.
Okay, so, Mr. Ford,
Yes, sir.
I would task you with that figuring out downstairs.
Actually, it would normally fall, that would be an HR function unless
Okay.
you feel that you want Mr. Ford to do it. but
Well, I just,
I can work with
I
the
think
different
right now-
department heads.
yeah, you can handle it, but for right now, what I would like to do through resolution is for the county board to pass it, that the people that do go and attend the funeral do not have to take vacation leave.
Regardless of if they're in veteran services, or are you limiting it to just the auditor, the recorder,
Well, I'm
the,
not taking attendance at this funeral.
Yeah.
So
right,
I'm saying planning and zoning, I'm saying the auditor's office, buildings and grounds, I'm not opening it up to the entire.
okay, that's the clarification I needed was. what
Do you
are
agree, the
looking
rest
at?
of you?
I do, but I'm a little hesitant if we start like, you can't go, and you can't go, you can go, you can't
Yeah.
go. That's the only thing that I'm
Yeah.
worried about,
That's-
I'm shutting it down because someone can be like, well, I've known. it."
Mr. Chair,
So-
Yes,
one of the things we need to remember though is if there is a prayer service, and I'm jumping the gun or making an assumption, but if there is a memorial service, there may be a prayer service in the evening, so that those that couldn't get off to go to the regular celebration of life, that they could attend the prayer service in the evening,
That's assuming there is one.
assuming there is one, correct?
I haven't
sure.
seen anything.
Unless it came up this afternoon, since I went to the zone board meeting at 2. I don't know.
All right, so,
I don't know how to make a motion for this one.
City.
You got an idea?
Why don't we just let the department heads figure out what's reasonable with their staff?
yes,
I did get a text from Amber Titus and she said the visitation is 1 hour before.
1 hour before.
And
So
the
it's just
services are at
Thank
2
you,
o'clock,
Amber.
and it's in Kirkston.
Yeah, Sid Kirkson.
Up to the discretion of the department heads.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll let
I can talk with the
Michelle, work it
department
out.
heads and I can send an email to the commission to let them know what each department has determined.
Right, okay,
So do you need a resolution for that? I suppose.
okay. I think, Commissioner Rusted made the motion and second by Commissioner Hagan.
Oh,
To allow
I missed that word.
Yeah. Oh, they were on it.
It just makes sense when we're honoring somebody's life and dedication to the county for decades. So,
Yeah. I agree.
And
the least we
this
can do
is
for a
the
gesture.
third time that we've had someone pass.
Yeah.
Just
So,
unexpectedly.
Why don't I just amend the motion to state that each department head will be in charge of allowing a certain amount of staff for themselves to go at their discretion. And that's it.
Okay,
Now,
the one thing that,
not having used PTO, excuse me.
right, okay, but the other thing that, so that office, that end of the office where you're at, the auditor, planning and zoning, that'll be closed. From noon to 5.
So how do we notify the public of that?
Well, we'd have to notify,
Joey on it?
Sure,
Harold.
I'm on it.
Yeah, he's on it. And we posted on the door starting tomorrow morning that the office will be closed from noon to 5 on Monday. Okay.
That's helpful.
And then I'll work, so then I can work with buildings and grounds to determine what
Right.
coverage that they need.
Yep.
Okay, and then we're only gonna limit that to people on that, in those areas.
Yeah.
So if we had somebody from emergency management on Fifth or the veteran service office, I just want clarification
Yeah,
to make sure that I communicate it out.
Yep.
Okay,
okay,
because we also have a department head meeting tomorrow afternoon, so
okay.
we can make sure that it gets communicated.
And we're not taking attendance at this point. Yeah, we'll leave it up to the department head. So I've got a motion, I've got a second by Commissioner Hagan. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carried unanimously. Okay,
Mr. Chairman, was the motion that was made only regarding the vacation? Or is the motion, because you said we're gonna be closed, and I didn't know if that was part of the motion or that was just the chair's
No.
directive.
no, it's,
Is that
yeah.
the motion?
Yeah.
Okay.
that's just your area. It's closed.
Okay.
I haven't heard HR too. I know they're in that side of the building. They're included obviously in this. We just have named everybody but them. So I'm not sure.
Yeah. All right. Unfinished new business.
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, we have a financing resolution for the limited tax capital bond fund. $15 million that will get 2% loan from the Bank of North Dakota that will offset the 4% bond for $15 million. We use the bond funds, we'll invest those to earn money on that 4% bond and use $15 million 2% loan instead, saving about $6 million for the taxpayer. It does cost more in the beginning for mills until 2035, and then it's reduced, but it's an overall savings for the taxpayer. So I need a motion to approve that financing resolution with the chair's signature and the chair's signature on all the closing documents.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I would move approval of
Okay,
that motion.
second, Commissioner Hagan seconds. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carried unanimously.
Mr. Chairman, they need a delegate appointed for the North Dakota Association of Counties Conference that happens in October. You can appoint any department head that they have in Central or yourself to be the delegate.
Or the chair, or the charge of finance and tax, that person who's been doing it for years now.
Yeah,
Okay.
all right, I like that.
It's either acquiescence or a
Yeah.
railroad job, we're not sure how you see it.
Oh, she's such a good delegate.
We have a motion, we have a second.
I made the motion.
Okay, Commissioner Rusted, second.
Okay, good.
All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign, motion's carried.
Thank you.
Correspondence.
Oh, yeah. What are you supposed to do with that?
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, I think there is just a requirement that they notify you. I don't know that you have to do anything.
That there was a complaint, essentially, that somebody was burning trailer houses, right? That was the complaint.
All right. Save Kids,
Just a
thank you. Letter.
Thank you.
Yeah. Commissioner Hagan makes a motion to adjourn, second by Commissioner Rusted. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Same sign.
Good today, I like it.
Oh, man, I have to make a motion to adjourn and go to the bathroom.